Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius, November 25th to December 15th, 2024. We got a cute puppy here, a really cute puppy to help us with this forecast. What do you have to say, Pierre? Pierre loves this forecast. He thinks we're about to fine-tune our belief systems and our visions. At least that is a big part of this Mercury retrograde. And I'll explain that in a second. Before we get into all the themes, I wanted to explain what Mercury is as well. So Mercury is the planet of how we communicate. It is how we think, communicate, connect with one another, and share information. It is about knowledge, and Mercury is about things that we know, knowing the how. It's not the esoteric, intuitive information. It's very much like these are facts, these are knowings, these are things we've scientifically researched. This is the step-by-step process. You know, Mercury is about the details. It can also rule out our siblings and our local neighborhood and our extended family, like aunts and uncles. And so all of these things could be themes during the Mercury retrograde period. But of course, we know it's also connected to technology, and that's because it's connected to how things wire together and connect and share information. Like you go and send an email to someone else. That would be a mercurial thing. It's a messenger. Okay. So for this Mercury retrograde, it's happening in Sagittarius. So let's first talk about Mercury retrograde, who it's going to most impact, and then because it's in Sagittarius, Mercury is actually at its fall. It's in its debilitated sign. Mercury does not love to be in Sagittarius. No, that's because Mercury likes to be in the details. It wants to know the facts. It wants to know how. It wants to ground things down into reality so that it can connect things and make connections and transmute information and help with communication and all these different things. But if Sagittarius thinks so big, it's so bigger picture, it's not in the details. It wants to make meaning out of things. It doesn't want to know the facts. And another reason why it's debilitated there is because Sagittarius can be very optimistic and not necessarily always grounded in reality, not necessarily always going after its goals and playing the long game. Sagittarius can have a hard time playing the long game. It can have a hard time playing the grounded game. And it's that energy of you start your hopes and dreams and you're like, yeah, this thing's gonna go amazing. And then this other thing comes into your life and you chase shiny objects. And you're like, now I'm doing this thing. Now I'm doing that thing. Now I'm doing this thing. And it's almost like you're chasing a dream, chasing a vision. That is what Sagittarius can do. Sagittarius is this sign of the grass is always greener on the other side. So I'm on this side. I wanna see what's on that side. So you can see how Mercury doesn't love to be there because Mercury wants to know things. If we're constantly communicating and we're talking about one thing for 2 seconds and then we're talking about another thing for 2 seconds and then we're talking about this thing because we're getting bored about what we're talking about, that's how Mercury and Sagittarius can work. Sagittarius is a sign that wants more and more and more, wants more information, more experiences. And so because Sagittarius is about this bigger vision, and we're going to be reviewing how we've been thinking about this bigger vision, how we've been thinking about how we make meaning out of life. Maybe you've been scattered in your life, and that's why this Mercury retrograde is going to have us see where we overextend ourselves and it makes us scattered, where we have this big vision and it's a little too big and it's not exactly grounded into reality and grounded down to what is actually connected with our soul and our energy. A big part of this Mercury retrograde is to refine our plans for the future, our vision for the future, this big dream, into something more practical that's going to last the long term. And what lasts the long term? Well, things connected to your soul, things connected to your energy, things connected to the embodiment of where you are right now. That's what Saturn in Pisces has been doing. Saturn in Pisces has been checking us. It's been saying, hey, are you really in alignment with unconditional love? Are you really in alignment with your soul? Are you really in alignment with your energy? And we'll get into this in a second, but there's going to be a square from Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius to Saturn in Pisces. And that's part of why I say this whole Mercury retrograde is going to be about refining your vision, grounding it back down to reality, realizing where you've been thinking about a big vision, thinking and communicating all these big ideas, but maybe it's not connected to your energy. Maybe it's not connected to your truth. Maybe it's a grass is always greener type thing. I had to stop the camera for a sec because I could not tell if it was recording. So we're back. But Saturn in Pisces has been connecting us with our soul. It's been showing us where we sabotage ourselves because of our fears. Pisces is where all of our fears lie. And it's where all of our self-sabotaging behavior lies. And what makes us self-sabotage ourselves? Not being connected to unconditional love, not being connected to our energy and what we actually have energy for, not being connected to our fears and recognizing that our fears are getting in the way of us having success. And what's really interesting about this square that we'll have between Mercury and Sagittarius and Saturn in Pisces is that these are both Jupiter-ruled signs. Mercury in Sagittarius, Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. Pisces is ruled by Jupiter. And the thing about Jupiter, the downside to Jupiter, is that it can just want more and more and more, and it's connected to limitless possibilities. And so you can get nowhere real fast because there's too many options. It's too much. It's too vast. It's too confusing because there's this and there's that and there's this and there's that, right? Pisces does it more in this confusing, daydreamy, all possibilities, all timelines playing at once type energy, whereas Sagittarius does this in a desire to experience and make meaning out of life and seek truth and just be a seeker, you know? And so what I see is when Mercury squares Saturn in Sagittarius on December 5th, this is going to be a reality check for a lot of people. Now, I'm going to mention this too. Mercury retrogrades don't impact everyone the same. They typically impact Mercury-ruled signs the most. So if you're a Gemini rising or a Virgo rising, you typically feel a Mercury retrograde the most. Why? Because Gemini and Virgo are ruled by Mercury. And if you have that as a rising sign, it's your identity, it's your life path. And so those retrogrades impact you more. It also impacts you more if you have a stellium. So that is 3 or more planets in Gemini or Virgo. You're also a mercurial person, so you'll likely really feel a Mercury retrograde. If you do not have a ton of planets in Gemini, in Virgo, and you're not a Virgo or Gemini rising, you might not feel Mercury retrograde as much. That's why a lot of people are like, Mercury retrograde, is it even real? Like, blah, blah, blah. So I wanted to say that, but I do believe, even if you don't fit that criteria I just talked about, that when Mercury retrograde squares Saturn in Pisces on December 5th, I do think a lot of us are going to feel that, even if you don't fit that criteria. Why? Because Saturn is more of a generational planet, and whenever something aspects a generational planet, it can impact us all a little bit more. And if I were to put a name, a title on the theme for this Mercury retrograde, is I feel as though it is teaching us to go from a disciplined society or even being lazy in our life to devotion in our life. This is a topic I've been talking about inside my membership, and it's because it's in the astrology, it's in the air right now. We're really moving away from a society that values discipline. Ever since Pluto left Capricorn, that's part of the gifts that we learned from Pluto leaving Capricorn that are going to be integrated over the next 3 years is we thought that discipline was the answer to reaching our goals. We thought that overworking ourselves and causing a power struggle and going against our truth and what really feels true to us because we have to be disciplined was how you were meant to go after our goals. And the thing about Pluto and Capricorn, the reason it causes power struggles to go against your truth when it comes to going after your goals is because your truth is where all of your power is. That is what Pluto always teaches us, is truth, vulnerability. And often we don't even like to admit the truth to ourselves. Think about when you're in a marriage with someone and you don't want to be in that marriage at all, but you have all these reasons to make it work. So you say, I love them. What do you mean? I love them. I have kids with them. We have this nice house with them. And you tell everyone that you love them. And it's just like something you have to repeat to yourself all the time. But deep down, you know there's a deep feeling in you that you don't love them, that you don't want this life, but you don't acknowledge that truth. That is a Pluto type truth. It's those truths that are so deep that are rather painful to acknowledge. And so now that we're out of Pluto and Capricorn, we're really learning that discipline was a form of a power struggle when it came to reaching our goals. It disconnected us from our truth because to be disciplined means to go against how you're currently feeling. Go against your energy. You know, I think about with diet culture, for example. It takes discipline to be on a diet. Whereas if you find intuitive eating and you come from unconditional love and you start eating whole foods and you notice, oh, when I eat whole organic foods, I feel good. Oh, when I eat McDonald's, I don't feel good. Now I get to make a choice. Do I want to eat whole organic foods that taste good and I feel good? Or do I want to eat McDonald's and it does taste good to me, but I feel like shit? Do you see the difference? Whereas if you're on a diet, you're just like strictly controlling that diet and you're not connecting to how things feel. You're manipulating what you're eating to get a certain goal, even if it feels hard for you. And that's why diets fail and why intuitive eating became such a big thing, is because intuitive eating taught people to come at food in life from devotion instead of fear and discipline. And so what I'm seeing for this Mercury retrograde coming off of this transition from Pluto and Capricorn, because now it moved into Aquarius, now we have this Mercury retrograde coming off the back of that. Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius, Sagittarius wants meaning, it wants the truth, it wants to have more and more and more, it wants to seek its big vision, it wants to find fulfillment in life, it wants to see what that's like and this is like. And why do we do all of this? Because we want to feel love. Why do we do anything? We want to feel good. We seek because we want love. We seek because we want to make meaning out of life. We want life to mean something. We want it to feel good. None of us are going through life saying, you know what? I want life to feel bad. And you know what? It's even a reason why people get themselves to stay disciplined, even though it was a much harder way to get to the goal. And often people sabotage themselves doing it that way. And that's because people think that if they're disciplined, they're going to finally reach that goal that they want, and then they'll feel the love, then they'll feel peace, then they'll feel this feeling that they're chasing. And so they go against their truth, they go against love, they push themselves to go from fear and seek meaning, that you're seeking the love. And so that could be the shadow side of the Sagittarius Mercury retrograde, is it wants more and more and more because it just wants love. So it's trying this and it's trying that, and it's doing all these different things from fear, from scarcity, from desiring a feeling. And so it's like, well, I have to try this and I have to try that, even though it's against my energy. And so I see the reality check with Saturn on December 5th is it's like, what do you truly have energy for? Because you going against your energy is sabotaging you. You going against your energy is keeping you in the same cycle of moving a little bit, feeling like you're grasping onto life with everything you have, and then you finally get to some sort of result and you sabotage it, or you can't stick with it. Or you finally get to some result and then you're not happy. And so then you try something else and you're like, well, maybe this will make me happy. Maybe this will make me happy. That could be what we're going into this Mercury retrograde with Sagittarius with, is just thinking, okay, well, this could make me happy, right? I don't have enough time, or I don't want to waste time. I need to find the perfect thing that's going to make me happy. So I don't simplify my life and stick with one thing. I do a million different things. And so with this square to Saturn and Pisces on the 5th, Saturn also rules time. It could be showing us that we are just making our life more complicated, because we're coming at life from fear as opposed to unconditional love and devotion. And when we come from fear, we get scattered. When we come from fear, we disconnect from our desires. When we come from fear, we don't trust our desires. We decide to be disciplined instead. Or we decide to be lazy and not do anything, which is the opposite of discipline, which they both happen. They're two sides of the same coin. When we come from fear, we're either lazy or we're disciplined. Why? Because we either procrastinate or we're like, fine, I'm going head first. Like, think about that person who doesn't diet at all, but is coming from fear in their life. So they're eating McDonald's, they don't feel good. They're not going to the gym because, I don't know, the gym's probably hard and they're afraid to go to the gym because all those fit people and blah, blah, blah. Versus when they're coming from discipline, maybe they are making themselves go to the gym. Maybe they are making themselves eat a certain diet, but then it doesn't feel good the whole time because it feels like you're not good enough. You have to go. I have to go to the gym today, or I'm not going to stick to my thing, or I'm not going to look good. And it's fearing your way into an end result. And anytime we fear our way into a better life, we either do nothing or we get there miserably and then we're never happy. And so what I really feel like a big part of this Mercury retrograde is connecting to your energy and learning to trust your energy and learning to trust, well, if I come at things from unconditional love, that's what Pisces is also about with the Saturn and Pisces square that I'm putting a lot of emphasis on for this Mercury retrograde. Pisces is about unconditional love, and Saturn in Pisces has been teaching us that when we think from unconditional love, when we give ourselves love and we motivate ourselves from love, that we actually reach this big grand vision. But when we motivate ourselves from fear, we sabotage that vision. So what could it look like to do a diet, the same example I gave from devotion? It would be, okay, well, if I'm coming from love, what would give my body love? What does my body need to feel love? And then I can feel good because I gave my body love. Well, maybe it's meal prepping a bunch of really tasty chicken that's organic, but I roasted in a yummy sauce. Or maybe it's me making mashed sweet potatoes and eating ground beef that I season really well and add some maple roasted carrots that I made at home, and I make everything at home. And it tastes really good. So that feels fulfilling. And also I know I'm giving myself whole foods. And so it's not only giving me energy because I'm eating the rainbow, I'm eating as many nutrients as I can. I'm also making it taste good so it feels nourishing to my body. Maybe also you're like, okay, well, it feels good when I take a walk. It feels better to take a walk during the day than it feels to sit on my ass all day. Because when I take a walk, I feel like the energies move through my body, my mind gets clearer. So maybe you decide to walk. And that's what you're doing, because it's like, okay, this is making my mind feel clearer. This is, giving my body more energy. This is making me feel more grounded to go on this walk. Do you see what the devotion would be? What deciding to do something, growing and expanding from love, from pleasure, from nourishment. That is devotion. And you can apply that same thing to anything in your life. Think about your career and money. Abundance loves joy. Abundance loves passion. And so often what I see is a lot of people who struggle with money, it's because they don't allow themselves to have joy and passion. They think they have to work really hard to get money. They have to be miserable. They have to be a realist. They have to do this and that. And they keep themselves in the same cycle. Whereas what they could do is follow their passion and follow their joy and do what's truly fun for them. If you did something that was fun for you, you could do it in abundance. You could literally do it forever, I'm sure. Whenever we have passion and joy, we could do it forever. So when you come at life from love in abundance, you get more love in abundance. You get out of that self-sabotaging loop, and you can actually go ahead on a long-term vision to make something happen. It's a simplifying instead of an overcomplication. And that is a big thing I see for this Mercury retrograde is it wants us to review how we're scattered because we're disconnected from our energy, because we're in fear, because we're sabotaging ourselves, because we think we can't have something, because we don't believe that we are a person who can have the thing that we want. So because we don't believe that we're a person who can have the thing that we want, remember the North Node is in Aries, and the North Node will be aspected while we have this Mercury retrograde. So the North Node is in Aries. Your identity, your self-concept is what creates what you want. So if you think you're a person who has to work a 9-to-5 job, who's not smart enough, who doesn't have any passions, can't connect to their joy, just can't have fun in their life, like if you believe you're that person, you will continue to manifest that in your life. I've been talking about this on my channel and with all of my clients that the North Node in Aries has been teaching us that our power is in our self-concept, and you have the power to change your self-concept. You have the power to tell yourself, the more I live in my joy, the more my life works out. The more I live in my joy, the more my life gets better and better. Joy is my abundance. Unconditional love is my abundance. Unconditional love connects me to my devotion, and it creates abundance in my life. Like if that was the only thought that you thought throughout the day. Remember, this is a Mercury retrograde. Mercury is how we think and communicate. We're reviewing how we think and communicate. If you shifted your thoughts to those two thoughts I just said, that my joy makes my life better and better, that was the only thought you chose to think because you decided to be devoted to that thought out of love for yourself, and you said it to yourself from the moment you woke up to the moment you went to bed, I bet you in about a few days, you would start to see all the ways in which your joy does make your life better and better, and that following the things that are fun is actually expanding your life in these new ways, which is what Mercury in Sagittarius wants. It wants to expand, but it's blocking itself from expanding by coming from fear. And if you want to learn how to do this self-concept for yourself, I have a resource for you that's completely free. It's my free Activate Your Joy challenge. All you have to do is go down to the little show notes down there, hit the free Activate Your Joy challenge, and you will get it straight to your inbox. It is 7 days of videos. In the first 2 videos, I talk about the self-concept, and then I go into other parts of your chart and how you'd activate joy and all these different things. So go snag that below. Also, if you have not subscribed and liked this video yet, make sure to do that. So that is what I'm seeing is a big part of this Mercury in Sagittarius retrograde. And another thing I want to bring in is we also have Uranus and Taurus in the game. And what Uranus and Taurus has been doing since 2018 is it's been having us collectively have breakthroughs. Awakenings. We're awakening to the Taurus area of our sky, to Taurus themes. And what are Taurus themes that it's been waking us up to? Simplicity, simplifying our life. Taurus is also our values, connecting to what we value. It's been really having us understand, what do you truly value? It's been having us connect to our self-worth and have breakthroughs in our self-worth. It's been having us have breakthroughs in how we want to go about bringing in money. Uranus wants autonomy in how, whatever it does. And when it's in Taurus, it wants autonomy in how it brings money in. It wants autonomy in what it values. It wants autonomy in its material resources. It wants to be in control of its materials. It doesn't want anyone else getting its little shit in there and like influencing it. No, it's its own person. It's radically rebellious and authentic, and it's about that. It's free, and it doesn't want to be tied down. And I would say, because Uranus and Taurus is still sparking off in the sky during this Mercury retrograde. It's going to be until it moves into Gemini in June or May. I forget exactly right now. But that is also helping us simplify and connect to our values. Well, we also connect to what we have energy for with Saturn in Pisces, and put boundaries around that. Am I coming from life from fear every step of the way when it comes to reaching my dreams? Or am I coming at life from devotion, which is love? Love for myself, love for another, love for humanity is unconditional. So this is my interpretation for Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius. If you made it to the end, drop a heart. I would love to know if you made it to the end. Let me know your biggest takeaway. And if you liked this and you want to make sure you get more videos just like this, just hit the notification bell. Make sure to subscribe, like the video. I love you. I'm so grateful you're here. I'm just excited to be building these relationships with you guys here on YouTube. And I hope you have the best rest of your day. Go crush this Mercury retrograde. I'm really excited to see what's on the other side.